I'm diving deep into the complexities of women's rights in modern Islam, and I'm challenging myself to understand and share perspectives that often get overlooked. Can I shed light on this important topic? The topic of women's rights in modern Islam is incredibly complex and multifaceted, and it's an issue that affects millions of people around the world. It's a topic that's often misunderstood, and one that sparks strong emotions and opinions. But it's exactly because of this complexity that it's so important to discuss and understand. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to women's rights in Islam is the misconceptions that abound. Many people assume that Islam is inherently oppressive towards women, and that women in Muslim-majority countries are automatically oppressed and mistreated. But the reality is far more nuanced. Islam, like any other religion, is open to interpretation, and different cultures and countries have different ways of implementing and understanding Islamic law. Another challenge is the way in which misinformation and stereotypes about Islam and women's rights can be perpetuated through the media and popular culture. We see images of women in hijab or niqab and assume that they're oppressed, without stopping to consider their own agency and autonomy. We hear stories of honor killings or forced marriages and assume that these are inherent to Islam, without recognizing the cultural and societal factors that often drive these practices. Furthermore, the voices of Muslim women themselves are often marginalized or ignored in discussions of women's rights in Islam. We hear from pundits and experts, but rarely from the women who are directly affected by these issues. This lack of representation and agency means that Muslim women are often spoken over, rather than spoken to. But perhaps the biggest misconception of all is the idea that Islam and women's rights are mutually exclusive. That you can either be a Muslim, or you can be a feminist, but you can't be both. This binary thinking ignores the many Muslim women who are fighting for their rights within the framework of their faith. In many Muslim-majority countries, women's rights are evolving and improving. In countries like Tunisia and Morocco, women have made significant gains in terms of legal rights and protections. In other countries, like Saudi Arabia and Iran, women are fighting for their rights in the face of significant obstacles and challenges. Education is key to this process, with many organizations and initiatives working to improve access to education for girls and women. Employment is another area where women's rights in Islam are evolving. In many countries, women are entering the workforce in increasing numbers, and are playing important roles in business and entrepreneurship. In other countries, women are pushing for greater legal protections and rights in the workplace. And when it comes to legal rights, women in many Muslim-majority countries are fighting for greater equality and protections. For example, in Pakistan, women like Malala Yousafzai are fighting for girls' education and challenging the Taliban's efforts to restrict their freedom. In Saudi Arabia, women like Luhayn al-Hafwal are pushing for greater legal rights and protections, including the right to drive. These women, and many others like them, are challenging stereotypes and misconceptions about Islam and women's rights, and are fighting for a more just and equitable society. One powerful story that illustrates the progress being made in women's rights in Islam is that of Algeria's women's football team. In a country where women's sports were once severely restricted, the team has become a symbol of female empowerment and determination. Despite facing significant obstacles and challenges, the team has qualified for the Women's World Cup, and is inspiring a new generation of girls and women to take up sports and challenge traditional gender norms. This team, and the many women like them, are proof that women's rights in Islam are not fixed or stagnant. They are evolving, and they are improving. And they are being driven by the efforts and activism of Muslim women themselves. In conclusion, women's rights in modern Islam are complex and multifaceted. They are influenced by culture, history, and politics, and are evolving and improving over time. Let's continue to challenge our assumptions and stereotypes, and to listen to the voices of Muslim women themselves. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to learn more about women's rights in Islam, check out some of the other videos on this channel.